Through the orbital station's reinforced viewport, Sarah Chen watched the alien warships materialize against the backdrop of Earth. They emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, sleek, crystalline vessels that caught the sun's light and fractured it into rainbow patterns across the station's hull. Beautiful, if you could forget they were warships. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. 17 vessels, ma'am. Standard Galactic Federation configuration. Their energy signatures match known peacekeeping fleets. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his console, fingers dancing across holographic displays. They're powering up their communication arrays. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a tall, avian figure draped in ceremonial military garments. Multiple medals adorned its chest, their significance lost on the human crew. Its feathers, iridescent blue and gold, ruffled slightly as it regarded them through compound eyes. "This is High Commander Zixtal of the Galactic Federation Peacekeeping Force. We have reviewed your species application for membership and conducted our standard evolutionary background check." The alien's translator gave its voice an artificial smoothness. "Earth has been classified as a Category 5 death world. Your species has evolved in conditions that make you inherently dangerous to galactic society." Sarah stepped forward, her diplomatic training kicking in. "Commander, we understand your concerns, but we've already demonstrated our peaceful intentions. Our technology is precisely why we must act now." Zixtal interrupted. "A species with your physical capabilities acquiring advanced technology poses an unacceptable risk. Earth will be placed under quarantine until your civilization can be properly adjusted." The meaning was clear enough. They intended to forcibly devolve human society until they deemed them harmless enough for integration. "Sir," Rodriguez's voice cracked, "multiple civilian ships are attempting emergency launches from the surface. They're scared." Before Sarah could issue evacuation orders, brilliant beams of energy lanced out from the Federation vessels. The civilian ships, nothing more than family transport vessels and commercial shuttles, didn't stand a chance. They erupted into clouds of debris, their occupants' final screams cut short by the vacuum of space. "Example made," Zixtal declared coldly. "Any further attempts to break quarantine will be met with similar response. Your species will learn discipline, or you will learn extinction. Choose wisely." The communication cut off, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Sarah's hands gripped the railing until her knuckles turned white. She had spent years studying alien cultures, learning their languages, trying to build bridges. She had believed in diplomatic solutions, in peaceful first contact. But as she watched more Federation ships emerge from hyperspace, she realized some beliefs had to die for survival. "Ma'am." Rodriguez looked to her for orders, his young face pale. What do we do?" Sarah straightened her uniform and turned to face her crew. Each face showed the same mix of fear and fury she felt in her gut. "Get me a secure channel to Earth Command. Then prep my personal shuttle." "You can't be serious," her XO, Commander Walsh, stepped forward. "That's a peacekeeping fleet out there. One person can't." "One person is all it takes," Sarah cut him off, already walking toward the armory. "Sometimes to start a war, sometimes to prevent one. Right now, I'm hoping for the latter, but I'm prepared for either." As she reached the doorway, she paused and looked back at her crew, at humans who had dreamed of peaceful first contact only to face extinction instead. "The Federation thinks we're savages because we evolved on a high-gravity world with predators. They expect us to be nothing but brutes. It's time to show them that surviving the death world doesn't just make you strong. It makes you clever, resilient, and dangerous in ways their algorithms can't predict." She smiled, but there was nothing gentle about it. "And I'm going to give them a personal demonstration." Sarah's shuttle drifted silently among the debris field of the destroyed civilian ships, its power systems running on minimal output. From her cockpit, she could see Federation crews in environmental suits collecting bodies. At least they weren't completely heartless. Their attention to the dead would be her way in. Her combat suit, a piece of classified technology that technically didn't exist, molded itself to her body like a second skin. The neural interface tingled as it synchronized with her nervous system, enhancing her already formidable strength and reflexes. Earth had kept many secrets from the Federation during their membership application. Final systems check, she muttered to herself, watching the heads-up display scroll across her vision. Oxygen recyclers at 100%. Magnetic grapples charged. Plasma cutter primed. She paused, looking at the final item. And one quantum signature scrambler, courtesy of Area 51's reverse engineering department. The flagship loomed ahead, its crystalline surface catching starlight like a massive diamond. Sarah had studied their ship designs extensively. She knew their blind spots, their weaknesses. The Federation's overconfidence in their technology meant they never expected anyone to attempt a physical breach. "Time to go, Ghost," she whispered, activating the quantum scrambler. The device didn't make her invisible. It simply made her shuttle's signature match the surrounding debris. To their sensors, she was just another piece of wreckage. Sarah guided her shuttle through the debris field with precise bursts from maneuvering thrusters, each movement calculated to mimic the natural drift of space debris. As she approached the flagship's hull, she spotted her target, a waste disposal port. Even advanced alien civilizations had to deal with garbage. A Federation recovery vessel passed within meters of her shuttle, its crew focused on retrieving a civilian body. Sarah held her breath, though she knew they couldn't hear her. The recovery team's leader gestured toward her shuttle, but after scanning it, they moved on. Just another piece of trash to them. Initiating magnetic lock, she breathed, feeling her shuttle shudder as it latched onto the flagship's hull. The disposal port was 3 meters away, an easy spacewalk for someone trained in Earth's gravity. Warning klaxons suddenly blared through her comms. Anomaly detected in Sector 7. A Federation voice announced. Possible debris collision with hull. Sarah's heart raced, but she forced herself to remain still. This was the critical moment. Scanning. Another voice responded. Reading only standard debris signatures. Probably another civilian fragment. Continue recovery operations. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Thanks for the excellent technology, folks, she murmured, patting the quantum scrambler. Now let's see what else you've underestimated about us primitives. She sealed her helmet and depressurized the shuttle's cabin. The airlock hissed open, exposing her to the void of space. With practiced ease, she launched herself toward the disposal port, the magnetic strips in her suit's gloves and boots ensuring she stuck to the hull. The plasma cutter made short work of the port's external locks. Federation materials might be advanced, but they still melted when exposed to temperatures hot enough to rival a star's surface. As the cut section drifted away, Sarah's suit sensors detected the waste disposal system's automated cycle was about to begin. Perfect timing, she grinned, sliding into the opening just as the system activated. The disposal tube's artificial gravity engaged, pulling her deeper into the ship. She rode the current like a water slide, her suit protecting her from the sterilization beams designed to atomize waste material. With a final whoosh, Sarah emerged into a maintenance bay, rolling to absorb the impact. As she rose to her feet, she checked her suit's systems. Everything nominal. She was inside the flagship of the Federation peacekeeping fleet, and they had no idea. Now, she said, pulling up the ship's schematics she'd memorized, let's show these peacekeepers why you don't corner something that evolved to be an apex predator. A maintenance drone whirred around the corner, its sensors scanning the room. By the time it registered her presence, Sarah had already disappeared into the ventilation system. The hunt was about to begin. The ventilation shaft vibrated with the flagship's engine pulse, but Sarah moved silently through the narrow space. Her suit's enhanced strength compensated for the awkward crawling position, and the lower artificial gravity made her feel practically weightless. Years of special forces training had taught her how to move like a ghost. Now those skills would be put to the ultimate test. Her HUD highlighted movement 2 decks below. A security patrol, 4 Federation soldiers in full combat gear. Their crystalline armor caught the light from overhead panels, making them look like walking jewels. Beautiful, but impractical. Sarah had already noted how their rigid armor plates left gaps at the joints. Sector 9 clear, one of them reported, its translator making the alien speech comprehensible. No signs of hull breach or intrusion. Maintain vigilance, came the response. Engineering reports power fluctuations in the waste disposal systems. Possible malfunction. Sarah smiled behind her helmet. They were looking for system failures, not an intruder. The Federation's bureaucratic mindset was working in her favor. They'd rather believe in equipment failure than admit a primitive had breached their defenses. She reached a junction and consulted the memorized schematics. The command center was still 8 decks up, but she needed to make a statement first, something to shake their confidence. Her gaze fell on a nearby environmental control panel, and an idea formed. With practiced precision, she removed the vent cover and slipped into an empty corridor. The flagship's interior was a marvel of alien architecture, sweeping crystalline arches and gravity-defying structures that seemed to flow like liquid metal. But Sarah wasn't here for sightseeing. A door hissed open at the corridor's end. Sarah pressed herself against the ceiling, her suit's magnetic strips holding her in place. A lone Federation technician walked beneath her, completely unaware of the predator above. She could have taken them out silently, but that wasn't the plan. Not yet. She reached the environmental control panel and got to work. Her suit's computer interface connected with the alien system, executing pre-programmed override commands. Earth's Cyber Warfare Division had been busy during the membership negotiations, mapping Federation computer architecture. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the deck. Emergency containment fields sprang to life, creating visible barriers between sections of the corridor. The security patrol she'd spotted earlier rushed toward her position, weapons charged. Multiple system failures detected, one shouted. Environmental controls are not responding. Sarah dropped from her hiding spot, landing in the middle of the patrol. In Earth's gravity, she would have been strong. In the Federation's lighter artificial gravity, she was devastating. The first soldier didn't even have time to raise their weapon. Sarah's augmented reflexes let her slip past their guard, striking pressure points their armor left exposed. They dropped like a stone. The second and third opened fire, energy bolts splashing harmlessly against her suit's advanced shielding. She moved like water between their shots, each movement economical and precise. These weren't killing blows. She wasn't here to prove them right about humanity's savagery. Instead, she demonstrated something far more terrifying: complete control. The fourth soldier managed to trigger a ship-wide alert before Sarah's nerve strike rendered them unconscious. She stood among the disabled patrol, breathing steadily. The entire encounter had lasted less than 10 seconds. Security breach confirmed, blared the ship's eye. Unknown assailant in Sector 9. All personnel, battle stations. Sarah retrieved a small device from her suit's utility belt and placed it on the nearest containment field generator. Similar devices were already scattered throughout the waste disposal system she'd used for entry. When the time was right, they would turn the ship's own security systems against it. "This is High Commander Zixtal." A familiar voice echoed through the ship's communications. "Find this intruder and contain them. No one breaches a Federation flagship without consequences." Sarah checked her suit's chronometer. Everything was proceeding according to plan. "Time to move to Phase 2, she murmured, disappearing back into the ventilation system as heavy boots thundered toward her position. "Let's see how well your troops handle fighting a ghost." The communications center was a cathedral of technology, its crystalline walls pulsing with data streams that connected thousands of Federation worlds. Sarah watched from a maintenance tunnel as technicians scrambled to counter her intrusions into their systems. None of them noticed the small devices she planted beginning to glow. Security teams report 4 more patrols disabled. A harried officer announced, "No visual confirmation of the intruder. It's like fighting a phantom." The High Commander's image dominated the central display, his feathers bristling with barely contained rage. "Lock down all critical systems. I want that Deathworlder found before." Sarah pressed a button on her suit's control panel. Every planted device activated simultaneously, creating a cascading failure in the ship's containment field network. Emergency barriers sprang up randomly throughout the vessel, trapping crews in sections and cutting off response teams. "Now," she whispered, "time for your education to begin." She dropped from the tunnel into the communication center. The technicians froze, finally seeing their primitive invader in person. Sarah's combat suit, sleek and black, absorbed the light from their consoles. Her helmet's interface gleamed with active data feeds. Security breach in communications. One technician managed to shout before Sarah moved. She danced through their attempts to stop her, each movement precise and controlled. A nerve strike here, a pressure point there. Bodies slumped to the ground, unconscious but unharmed. The Federation's lighter gravity made her feel like she was moving through water, every action smooth and unstoppable. "Stop." The shift commander raised an energy weapon. "One more move and..." Sarah was already inside their guard, disarming them with a technique perfected in Earth's dodos. "Your mistake," she said softly, "was assuming that evolution on a death world only makes you strong. We learn to be smart, too." With the room secured, she connected her suit's computer to the main communication array. The Federation's security protocols crumbled before Earth's cyber warfare algorithms. Every screen in the fleet, every communicator in the task force, and every linked system in range suddenly activated. "Attention. Federation forces," Sarah's voice echoed through the network. "Let me show you what your peacekeepers did to our civilian ships." The footage played across all channels. Transport vessels being destroyed, families trying to escape, the cold execution of innocent people. But then she showed them something else. Her own helmet recordings of the unconscious security teams she'd encountered. "I could have killed them," she continued, letting the images speak. "By your own laws, I would have been justified. You attacked us first. But humanity didn't survive a death world by being mindless killers. We survived by being better than our environment demanded." She brought up medical diagnostic scans of the disabled crew. "Your personnel are unconscious, treated for any injuries, and stable. I even adjusted their environmental controls for optimal recovery. Because that's what a civilized species does." The High Commander's face appeared on a separate channel, purple with rage. "You dare lecture us about civilization? Your very existence is a threat to galactic peace." "No," Sarah countered, her voice steady. "Your fear is the threat. You call Earth a death world. We call it home. Every challenge made us adapt. Every predator taught us caution. Every natural disaster showed us the value of cooperation. We learned to be strong because we had to be, but we chose to be compassionate because we wanted to be." She activated the final phase of her plan, broadcasting proof of humanity's technological achievements. Achievements they'd hidden from the Federation's assessment teams. Quantum computing, clean energy, medical breakthroughs that could benefit all species. "So, here's your choice," Sarah concluded. "Recognize Earth as equals and let us share our innovations with the galaxy, or watch as a single primitive Deathworlder continues to dismantle your flagship from the inside out. You have 1 hour to decide." The communication ended, leaving the Federation fleet in stunned silence. Sarah settled into a secured position, checking her suit's systems. The real test would come in how they responded to her ultimatum. High Commander Zixtal stood in the flagship's central corridor, surrounded by his elite guard. Their crystalline armor had been modified, power fields humming with enhanced strength. They'd studied the footage of their fallen comrades, adjusted their tactics. This time, they were ready for a Deathworlder. "She's in Section 7. An officer reported, mandibles clicking nervously. "Moving through." "No, wait. Section 12. That's impossible. The signatures are everywhere." Zixtal's feathers bristled. This human was making them look like amateurs. Worse, her broadcast had reached every Federation world. The political fallout would be devastating. "Clever," he muttered, studying the security feeds. "She's using our own containment fields to scatter her thermal signature. The same technology we used to trap her is hiding her from us." A shadow moved at the edge of his vision. The guard spun, weapons charging, but found nothing. Zixtal felt a chill run down his spine. How could something so dangerous move so quietly? "You know," Sarah's voice echoed from somewhere above them. "For a species that prides itself on technological superiority, you're remarkably predictable. Enhanced armor, but still the same weak points. Improved sensors, but still looking for what you expect to see. Show yourself," Zixtal demanded, his translator barely keeping up with his agitation. "Face us with honor." A soft laugh answered him. "Honor? Like shooting down civilian ships, or maybe like quarantining species because you're afraid of their potential." The lights in the corridor flickered. When they stabilized, Sarah stood at the far end, her combat suit's surface rippling like liquid shadow. The elite guards took aim, but she made no aggressive moves. "Your predecessor visited Earth secretly, 60 years ago," Sarah said conversationally. "Crashed in a place called Roswell. We've been preparing for this moment ever since." Zixtal's compound eyes widened. That was classified information, known only to the highest levels of Federation command. "Impossible. You're lying." "Am I? Why do you think we hid our true technological level during the membership evaluation? We knew how you'd react. Your Federation claims to promote peace, but you're really just afraid of anything you can't control." The guard started to encircle her position. Sarah remained motionless, her helmet's interface glowing softly. "Here's what's going to happen next. Your guards will attack. They'll discover that their enhanced armor is now operating at minimum power, a backdoor we found in that crashed ship. Then you'll learn why humanity's greatest strength isn't our physical capabilities. You're surrounded." Zixtal scoffed. "What could possibly?" Sarah's helmet displayed a countdown reaching 0. Suddenly, every piece of Federation technology in the corridor went dark. The guard's armor locked up, emergency systems failed, and even Zixtal's translator sputtered into silence. She moved through the darkness like a liquid shadow, her suit operating on independent power. The guards, trapped in their powered-down armor, could only watch as she systematically disabled their backup systems and non-technological weapons. When the emergency lights finally flickered back on, Sarah stood before Zixtal. His entire elite guard lay unconscious around them, disabled without a single fatal injury. "Our greatest strength," she said softly, "is that we learn to survive by outsmarting stronger predators. We learn to observe, adapt, and overcome. Your crashed ship taught us how your technology thinks, and we've had 60 years to think about how to beat it." Zixtal reached for his sidearm, but Sarah was faster. A precise strike, and the High Commander of the Federation Peacekeeping Force found himself kneeling, his motor functions temporarily paralyzed. "The bridge is through that door," Sarah gestured. "Your crew is watching. The entire Federation is watching. So what's it going to be, Commander? Continue this fight, and prove to everyone that you're exactly the kind of brute you accuse us of being. Or accept that maybe, just maybe, you've completely misunderstood what makes a species truly dangerous." The flagship's bridge hummed with tension as Sarah sat in the commander's chair, holographic displays swimming around her. Federation protocols and classified files streamed across her helmet's interface, decades of secrets laid bare. "Incoming transmission from the Federation Council," reported one of the bridge crew she'd allowed to remain at their posts. Their mandibles trembled, but they maintained their professionalism. "Put them through," Sarah commanded, noting how the crew's posture straightened at her confident tone. Even as a captor, she'd earned more respect than fear. The holoscreen filled with the images of 12 council members, each representing a different founding species of the Federation. Their expressions ranged from outrage to fascination to barely concealed fear. This is unprecedented. The Arthosian Councilor's crystalline form sparkled with agitation. A single operative infiltrating our flagship, accessing classified systems, and exposing decades of ethical violations, Sarah interrupted, bringing up file after file on their screens. The Centauri suppression, the Rigelian quarantine, the Proxima experiment. How many species have you hobbled because they didn't fit your definition of safe? A new voice cut through the tension. She's right. The Drachnid Councilor leaned forward, their scaled features intent. Our own world was nearly classified as a death world 3 centuries ago. Only political maneuvering saved us from quarantine. Murmurs spread through the council. Sarah pressed her advantage, accessing more records through the ship's quantum database. Earth's Cyber Warfare Division had given her an AI assistant that worked faster than Federation security could track. Look at these development projections. She highlighted graphs and statistics. Every species you've quarantined showed remarkable adaptation rates. They weren't threats. They were opportunities for growth that you smothered out of fear. The Arthosian Councilor's crystalline surface clouded with anger. You breach our security, assault our personnel, and now presume to lecture us on policy. No. Sarah stood, her combat suit's surface rippling. I'm showing you what real strength looks like. Every crew member I disabled is alive and unharmed. I could have destroyed this ship. Instead, I chose to communicate. That's what you don't understand about evolution on a death world. Surviving doesn't just make you strong or clever. It teaches you the value of restraint. She brought up the footage from Earth's orbital station, showing the civilian ships being destroyed. You acted out of fear. We're acting out of hope. Even now, I'm uploading medical research we've developed that could benefit every species in the Federation. Technological innovations that could revolutionize space travel. Cultural exchanges that could enrich everyone. The human speaks truth. A new voice joined the transmission. Sarah's HUD identified them as representatives from dozens of restricted worlds, their signals cutting through Federation communications barriers. We've been watching. All of us. The ones you deemed too dangerous, too unpredictable. The council chamber erupted in chaos as more signals joined. Species after species, all of them watching, all of them finally speaking out. Perhaps, the Drachnid Councilor raised their voice above the din. It is time for the Federation to evolve. Sarah smiled behind her helmet. Your peacekeeping fleet has been immobilized by one person who chose not to kill. Imagine what we could accomplish together if we chose to create instead. She stood, her suit's systems interfacing seamlessly with the flagship's controls. I'm transmitting proof of humanity's current technological level, along with evidence of similar advancements from other restricted worlds. You have a choice to make, counselors. Maintain your fear-based policies and watch your authority crumble, or embrace a new age of true cooperation. The bridge crew watched in amazement as their systems displayed innovations and advancements their Federation had never imagined, all from species they dismissed as primitive or dangerous. The universe is vast, Sarah concluded, and it's about to get a lot more interesting. The Federation's Grand Assembly Hall dwarfed anything humanity had built, its crystalline spires reaching into the purple skies of the capital world. Sarah stood before the gathered representatives of over 1,000 species, her combat suit replaced with a formal diplomatic uniform. The irony wasn't lost on her. Their first human visitor was the same one who had humbled their fleet. The Assembly recognizes Security Officer Sarah Chen of Earth, announced the Chief Arbiter, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the chamber's ambient light. You stand accused of breaching Federation security, assaulting peacekeeping forces, and accessing restricted information. How do you plead? Sarah's voice carried clearly through the vast chamber. I acknowledge my actions. The real question is whether they were crimes or necessary corrections to a systemic injustice. Holographic displays materialized around the chamber, showing footage from her infiltration of the flagship. Some representatives flinched at the efficiency with which she disabled the Federation forces. Others nodded in approval at the careful measures taken to avoid fatalities. You claim necessity. The Arthosian representative's crystalline form pulsed with skepticism, yet your actions have destabilized centuries of established order. Restricted worlds are demanding immediate reclassification. Protected species are questioning their status. The very foundation of our peacekeeping mandate is under scrutiny. Good, Sarah replied, causing a ripple of murmurs through the assembly. A foundation built on fear deserves scrutiny, but I'm not here to destroy your federation. I'm here to help it grow. She gestured, and new holograms appeared. Medical breakthroughs from Earth, environmental restoration techniques from other death worlds, technological innovations that the Federation had never considered possible. Every world you restricted had to solve unique problems. Sarah continued. High-gravity environments forced us to understand physics in ways your standard models never considered. Hostile atmospheres led to breakthroughs in environmental science. Predatory ecosystems taught us about neural networks and adaptive systems. The Drachnid representative leaned forward. You speak of benefits, yet our simulations showed devastating potential for conflict if Deathworld species were allowed free access to space. Your simulations were based on fear, Sarah countered. They assumed that species who evolved in harsh environments would automatically be aggressive. But look at the evidence. She brought up detailed statistics from her infiltration of the flagship. I disabled 78 crew members without a single fatality. Used 24 separate non-lethal techniques. Employed cyber warfare methods that could have destroyed the ship but were instead used to communicate. These aren't the actions of a mindless brute. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. Sarah pressed her advantage. I moved to submit myself to Federation justice, with one condition, that the same standards be applied to the commanders who ordered the attack on Earth's civilian vessels. Chaos erupted in the chamber. The chief arbiter had to activate sonic dampeners to restore order. You would submit to our laws while simultaneously charging our own leaders. Yes, Sarah's smile was razor-sharp, because that's what civilization means, equal justice, regardless of origin. You fear Deathworld species because you think we only understand strength. I'm proving we understand justice. A new voice cut through the chamber, the representative of one of the youngest Federation species. I move to accept Officer Chen's proposal. Let us judge both sides by the same standards we claim to uphold. Support began to build, species after species adding their voices. Even some of the founding members, watching their perfect system crack, recognized the necessity of change. The chief arbiter raised their central limb for silence. Very well. This assembly will convene a special tribunal. Both the actions of Security Officer Chen and the Federation Peacekeeping Command will be evaluated. Let it be recorded that this marks the first time a restricted world species has voluntarily submitted to Federation justice while simultaneously challenging it. Sarah stood straight, her posture relaxed despite the gravity of the moment. That's the thing about evolution on a death world, she said quietly. You learn that true strength isn't about domination. It's about knowing when to fight, when to talk, and when to let justice take its course. 3 months after the tribunal, Sarah stood on the observation deck of the renamed Federation vessel, Hope's Dawn, formerly the flagship she had captured. The ship's crystalline structure had been modified, incorporating designs from various restricted worlds, including Earth. Its scars remained deliberately unrepaired, a reminder of how change sometimes comes through confrontation. Ambassador Chen, a young Federation cadet, approached, their feathers quivering with excitement. The integration class is ready for your lecture. Sarah smiled, following the cadet to the ship's newly constructed teaching chamber. Inside, representatives from 30 different species, including several from former restricted worlds, waited eagerly. The chamber itself was a testament to change, with varying gravity zones and environmental conditions allowing comfortable attendance for all. Today's lesson, Sarah began, isn't about combat techniques or infiltration strategies, though I know that's what many of you expected. A ripple of amused acknowledgement passed through the audience. Her takedown of the Federation fleet had become required study at the Academy. Instead, we're going to discuss why the old classification system failed and what we're building in its place. She activated the chamber's holographic system, displaying a galaxy map marked with thousands of worlds. Every point of light here represents a civilization that evolved to meet unique challenges. The old Federation saw diversity as a threat. We see it as our greatest strength. The map zoomed in on Earth. Humans evolved on what you called a death world. High gravity made us strong. Predators made us clever. Environmental challenges made us adaptable. But most importantly, surviving these challenges taught us the value of cooperation. She switched to footage from recent joint missions. In the past 3 months, Earth's medical technology, combined with Drachnid regenerative techniques and Arthosian crystal matrices, has cured diseases on 17 worlds. Former restricted species are leading terraforming projects, their experience with harsh environments proving invaluable. The young Arthosian cadet raised a crystalline appendage. But what about the risks? Surely some species might use their evolutionary advantages aggressively. An excellent question. Sarah nodded. Which is why our new approach focuses on integration rather than isolation. The same traits that make a species successful on a harsh world, adaptability, problem-solving, cooperation, make them valuable allies when properly understood. She brought up statistics from the new cultural exchange programs. Conflict predictions have dropped by 70% since we began active integration. Turns out, species are less likely to fight when they're working together to solve common problems. The Chamber's displays showed construction projects throughout Federation space, new ships incorporating multi-species designs, research stations drawing on diverse evolutionary experiences, diplomatic centers built to accommodate all environmental needs. The term Death World is being retired, Sarah continued. We're introducing a new classification, Crucible Worlds, planets that forge their inhabitants through challenge rather than condemn them through fear. Every harsh environment produces unique solutions, and those solutions might save lives on other worlds. She gestured to the Hope's Dawn's modified structure visible through the chamber's windows. This ship is a perfect example. Human understanding of tensile strength, combined with Federation crystal technology and environmental systems, designed by other former restricted species, has created something entirely new, something better. The lecture concluded with a demonstration of the ship's new capabilities, faster, more adaptable, and able to accommodate any species comfortably. As the students filed out, Sarah noticed the young Arthosian cadet lingering. Ambassador, they approached hesitantly. Some say you could have destroyed the Federation that day. Why choose this path instead? Sarah touched one of the ship's unrepaired scars, her reflection distorted in a crystalline surface. Because the true measure of evolution isn't just survival, it's growth. Earth taught us to be strong, yes, but it also taught us to be better than our circumstances demanded. The Federation feared us because they thought harsh worlds only produced monsters. She smiled at the cadet. We proved them wrong not by destroying their system, but by helping it evolve. That's the real lesson from humanity's death world. True strength isn't about domination. It's about having the power to change things and choosing to use that power to build rather than break. The Hope's Dawn continued its journey through Federation space, its mixed species crew working together seamlessly. The scars in its hull caught the light of distant stars, a constant reminder that sometimes the deepest changes start with a single act of controlled defiance.